witchcraft was apparently the sport of very primitive people. Last time I checked, abahlezi emaplazini abangena anything. People that are primitive, sitting in the country, in the rural areas, with nothing. All they can do is experiment every single day with spirits to see if at all they'll get a better grain in life than the one that they've been cast. To see if they can't find themselves in a better position than the one that they were awarded. Njefela from birth, whatever circumstance. Until it magnified itself into the middle class, that I realized, Guti, I'm so... Like God, I wanted to hope, I wanted to believe that there is a future here on earth that is salvageable, especially among the black community. Remember the other day I spoke about how it is that to say that a person in South Africa is crazy when they accuse someone of witchcraft is to be naive, because no one in this country, especially if they're black, does not believe in witchcraft. They know that it's real because it's so frequently practiced. You cannot use gaslighting against an African to say that there's no such thing as witchcraft when they accuse you of witchcraft. The most that you can ever do as a black person in South Africa or in Africa at large when you are accused of witchcraft is deny it. Just deny it. But you cannot say it does not exist. You cannot make like Westerners and be like that stuff is not even real. Because Lana, everybody believes it. So everyone that tried to put me in a psychiatric hospital for claiming that they did witchcraft, because apparently witchcraft does not exist, they were naive, because this is South Africa. Abantu bayatwasa and come out with into bayenzile in public. Abantu bayatwala and entire documentaries are done on news networks in this country about the practice of uktwala, which is a form of witchcraft. So there is no body in South Africa that does not believe that witchcraft is real, because it's that broadly practiced. And when that's a thing, then who in the world is safe? Like, I thought this thing was a blasé matter. I never thought that like entire sophisticated, mature, studied, educated, middle class people would play this dirty with each other. People who have everything they need. Remember I told you with my friends in varsity, all of us had a future. We were looking forward to something. All of us were looking longingly into the perspective of doing very well. Every one of us had a job at a certain point, and we were all going to ultimately end up really great, like my girlfriends. And then they all made a decision to derail one or the other. So it's rapacity on that day. It's greed. It's not being jealous that somebody got a job when you don't have one. It's insisting that you're the only one that has a job. I told you guys about a friend of mine from high school who bewitched nearly 7. She bewitched 6 women to be substandard to her for the rest of their lives. She went on to become a chartered accountant and said, every last one of you, whatever you do in life, you will never be better than me. That's the black community for you. That is a woman that grew up in a middle class home with a mom and a dad that loved her. No history of abuse. Essentially, there was nothing that could have ever provoked her to do that to a person. She was not a hurt person that decided to hurt other people. She was the instigator, the person who started the machine to hurt other people until they ended up hurting other people. I expanded on that at length in one of my other videos. And said, you will all be beneath me. And one of her friends today is living below the poverty line, scraping through life, facing death, partially because of her witchcraft. I can't blame her alone. So she got what she wanted. It's just that she now created poverty where there was none. She manufactured poverty where there was none. In my life. That's black people, and if at all it is in the middle class, like I said. It's hanging out in corporate South Africa, in the lives of people that have cars, homes, lots of food, blueberries. There is no need for you to steal from anyone because you have enough of your own. But they want to be the only ones rising. And so everybody is busy getting shot from the sky. You are not in and of yourself lacking anything. That friend of mine, what is this, that afflicted with gossip, that other chick, was in and of herself a young woman who in the future very potentially could end up meeting a man that would marry her. We were all so young that, it's not like we were like women in our middle age or women in our 30s that are struggling to get married. And so when one of your girls comes with an engagement ring, you're like, ish son, I guess I'm gonna be the only one here that's a spinster. Like, we were 24 for crying out loud. It was highly likely that all of us before we exited our 30s would all be married. Somebody had to be first. In any kind of thing that happens, somebody gotta do something first. Everybody has somebody that does something first. So she was the first one to get married. Leave her to go, ayochada. It's what happens when people grow. They get married, they have children. It's called milestones. But you don't want her meeting that? That's the black community for you. It's that ridiculous. Blokwa are milestones that are important for a society to thrive. It is important for women to get married, for men and women to meet and get married, so that a generation can be proliferated, so that a future can be fostered, do you understand? So that Bana can grow from that, so that we as a people can continue to thrive. It's important for people to pop up out of the woodworks in our 20s and say, I've been engaged. Somebody proposed marriage to me. And when that was starting to happen, something responsible and right that ought to happen, because if it doesn't happen, one must wonder, when one was getting married, we knew that something right was happening. You then stop that, or you hate on it. The same chick went on right ahead, Anthony Guterres, to put a whole bunch of witchcraft on me. But she's not the only one. That whole crew, including the refugee, put witchcraft on me. The colleague from MTN, that I was a refugee too, that gave me humanitarian aid, that bolstered me when I was now flying solo. He was like, I'm sorry, not on my watch. Like, who the hell do you think you are? So here it is now that Zahara, as a celebrity, a singer in this country, has passed away. And usually when celebrities die, it's like, whatever, they die. Okay, people die, whatever. You win some, you lose some. Another one bites the dust. Zahara bit the dust. She bit the dust, do you understand? And I was tempted to just kind of move on some, I guess, like I said, another one bites the dust. But it was not another one bites the dust with Zahara, was it? No. It was yet another case of a black person moving on in a milestone and then getting killed by a black person. Zahara has been sick, was sick, in the hospital for a week. She's a musician. I didn't even follow her. I didn't know her that closely, but something told me, go read up on her case, because the Holy Spirit is he who leads me. He was like, go read up on her story. So I went and I googled Storisa Zahara, and I found out that she did not just pass away in Jafela after being booked into a hospital out of nothing. She was sick for 2 weeks, a week or 2 weeks or something, and she was basically catatonic, unresponsive, comatose. She started out alright in the in the general medical ward, and then she ended up in ICU. And the issue that killed her was a liver complication. She could not get a transplant. Now, if at all you're not out here getting a liver on time, you are gonna die. But when you've got liver disease that is gradual, it impends on you, hardly ever, it's highly unlikely that you're gonna pass away in just 2 weeks. The only liver disease that would happen upon you so fast, and it's not gradual, to a point where you might even have to be on dialysis for months on end, maybe a year, is if somebody poisons you. If somebody poisons you and your liver has to work overtime until it ultimately caves in, that can be a graduating illness that happens over 2 weeks. I'm literally looking at my computer at the same time as working over here because I don't know what's happening. Mona. My content is just not doing what it needs to do, and if my content doesn't do what it needs to do, I can't even work out. Like, I don't understand what's along. Is it the captions? Like, what? Because this thing gave me grief yesterday. I hate not working out, and I don't understand what's along, Mona. Perhaps I just need to like delete CapCut. 1 minute. Oh goodness, I don't know what's happening. I'm so distracted because, like, if my work does not go out, I don't go out. Okay, I nearly deleted like all of CapCut, but it's progressing even though it's busy giving me grief, and I don't know what's with the grief. Alright, cool. As long as it's progressing, I'm cool. I don't know, like, it did that yesterday and it's not doing it today. Like, it's just issues with my computer, whatever. Moving on. As long as I'm able to get work out, that's all that matters. Alrighty, cool. Yeah, that's what was happening. Zahara, she was murdered. Okay, she was obviously murdered. Apparently her whole case lingered for a week. Not a week, 2 weeks. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and it was also sudden. She recently turned 36 years old in November, and apparently on her birthday she was as strong as an ox. She was celebrating, she was all good and well. She then today's the 12th of December. She passed away on the 11th of December. That was yesterday. Last night. She passed away last night. Do you understand? I then found out from one of the news networks in the country, almost immediately, like an hour after she passed away, I learned, right, that she had died because I saw the title. I went and I researched and I googled, and I discovered that her issues with her being in the hospital had been a whole week-long affair. 2-week-long affair, where the whole country was apparently praying for her to get better. And before she passed away, it was anticipated that she would survive. First, she was booked into hospital, and she was in a regular ward, and then she was moved to ICU, catatonic, comatose, completely gone. And she was put on a donor list for a liver transplant. She needed a new liver because there were toxicities in her body. body, and her liver worked overtime. That's what happens when you poison a person. Their liver sort of kind of dies. It passes away. And this woman did not get out. She did not get a liver on time. A person with a liver illness that is gradual because you're an alcoholic or whatever will pass away usually after something like a year, maybe 2. If at all they're on medical aid and they keep on being put on and off on dialysis. The degradation and the destruction of her liver was so fast that it evidenced poisoning. But they're not willing to say that in the media. However, there are news sources before she died, about a week ago, that rocked up and said that Zahara's family went to the media and said that after her lobola negotiations, after her lobola was paid in full, lobola is bridal price. She is basically her getting married to some dude. Yeah. 2 days later, she passed away, and her family suspect witchcraft and poisoning. That somebody fed her muti, or it was witchcraft. They suspected that it was either umuti, that they spiked the drink. They suspect, the family came to the media and said they suspect somebody close to her spiked her drink, and then she passed away. No, ultimately, right? Or that it was witchcraft. Kadi lobola negotiations, she was apparently healthy and fine, and she was booked into hospital 2 days after her lobola negotiations. And the family went on right ahead and said that we suspect that somebody was so jealous of her that was close to her. And they went on right ahead to say that they suspect it was even a member of the family. I would go so far as to say that it could be a member of the family, but it could also be a friend. Because if you are at a lobola negotiation or a lobola celebration, likely you have got friends and family there. So it could be family, it could also be friends. Do you understand? 2 years ago, Zahara, apparently in 2001, buried an older sister, a sister of hers, that passed away in a car accident. And I was like, that's the black family for you. That's the black situation for you. Where family members just die, like siblings just pass away. Year after year after year after year. And you wonder why shono gangaga. If you go and you listen to the testimonies of many people that repented from the occult, they will explain to you that in their families there was like something like 6 or 7 deaths happening a year because they were busy sacrificing them. So Usisika Zahara passes away 2 years back from a car accident, and then 2 years later Zahara gets married, and now she's dead. She's dead, like she has passed away. And the thing that killed her was a liver issue. She did not get a donation on time. She did not get a liver transplant on time. The liver condition of which graduated so quickly that it could only be poison. Because on her 36th birthday, which was in November, she was healthy. 2 days before she suddenly had to be booked into hospital, she was also healthy. And then there was a decline that needed a transplant real fast, and not even dialysis could do anything for her. And then family comes forward. Remember I said that there's no one in South Africa that does not believe in witchcraft if they're all black. So you can't claim that witchcraft does not exist. At most, all you can do is deny you did it. But you cannot successfully claim in the black community that there's no such thing as Uptaga Tukarabuya Shang. The family went forward to the media and said our daughter was either poisoned ngomuti, or this was just witchcraft. In other words, a death spell that took effect some days down the line. And it was effected because of jealousy. Because of Mona. So Zahara was murdered by someone, friend, family, we will never know. And the sad thing about it is that the person who killed her, Uzoba Emwaben, she is going to be at the funeral, likely also contributing the most amount of money towards the, funeral and whatnot. Or maybe, or perhaps by the one to buy lekasika of because that's what black people do. They put people in a position to die, and when they die, they are the biggest philanthropists of the day. They're the most generous donors of the day. Zahara was murdered, and when I heard about Zahara's basically story, her passing, I was like, oh God, where it is that I was speaking about, if Zahara did not know God, right, if she was not saved at the time of her passing, she will eventually get justice at the Great White Throne Judgment, but also at the same time as her being judged. So they kill people, make sure that people cannot repent. And then these people ultimately find out, but on the day that they find out who killed me, they also in and of themselves are being told, depart from me, worker of iniquity, I never knew you. I spoke about that yesterday, about how it is that witches kill people and they prevent them from ever coming to know the Lord. Zahara was a 36-year-old black woman that was getting married literally too late. At 36, too late. I'm 39, I'm chad. So Gushkuti, somebody was blocking her marriage prospects from all the way when she was 25, 24. Everybody that came along, nothing was happening. Finally at 36, somebody was like, she was never supposed to get married. And then decided that, you're just gonna die. That's black people for you. Whenever witchcraft does not work its full effect in the first place, like when they do spells that don't do what was intended, like when spells don't work or they don't achieve what was intended, they then quickly graduate to murder. They then suddenly think that dying is okay. And I am sitting where I'm sitting right now, where witchcraft against me did not achieve what a lot of people wanted it to achieve, and so they now want me dead. My ex-boyfriend has cast a death spell on me. This animal in America, death spell, because I wouldn't be with him. I didn't want to be with him, and so he was like, let her die. Black people for you. There's a whole cult in South Africa that wants me to go minanyochata just anything. They want to eradicate the embarrassment that I am. It is not first price for me to die for them, but it is what they call a necessary evil, because I'm stubborn. So it would have been better if I didn't have to die. Godwa, they can't let me live, according to them. They're that arrogant, so pompous, so as to say things like, we can't let her live. If only she had just taken what we gave her. Whatever rubbish of scraps we offered her. If Megai Tatile Mesomyegela Kota Manje Uzoshon. So what I'm trying to explain to you black people is that if God does not cut these days short for you, even I wouldn't be saved. I would end up dying inevitably. Nami like Zahara, I would go in the grave. Nami like Zahara, I would, after my lobola negotiations, suddenly find myself in hospital, and then suddenly find myself in eternity. I would wake up and just feel like on some, but God, I was engaged. I was like married. Like my man had just taken out the final payment. How am I here? I was supposed to enjoy being a mom. Finally, I was gonna have babies. Finally, I was going to do what I wanted to do. How in the world am I here? Because according to reports, Zahara was catatonic. She was comatose. She was unresponsive in hospital. So it's not like she was awake, in and out. No. She suddenly just entered into a coma. So this is a person that found themselves in eternity suddenly. Yes, initially she was in a regular medical ward, likely sentient, but then suddenly plunged into a catatonic state, meaning that she was taken to eternity unexpectedly. She was in between worlds for 2 weeks, and then ultimately the silver cord was cut. Nami, I was gonna find myself on a hospital bed on some maybe I'll be out of here, with a fiance that's looking, or a husband that's looking forward to taking me home and feeding me breakfast in bed as I recover. And the man would then end up living in a house that he bought for us alone, because his new wife was killed on her wedding day. Oh, just 2 days after Linyalo. 2 days after Linyalo, she was killed. And now he's sitting in the house, looking at the pots they bought together, looking at the bed linen they bought together, looking at everything that he was trying to enjoy his life with his wife with, and it's all gone. And now you're in an empty house, bereft as a husband that has lost your wife because cousin ya teng nesad again, tabaza Linyalo la teng, because best friend nesad again, because mewa teng nasad again, because osi nasad again. Someone in the family or friendship of this chick was disinterested that she should be happily married. You block a person's marriage until she's 36, and at 36 finally we are chat. Finally. And then she's dead in 2 weeks. I was like, Father, I'm gonna end up like Zahara at this rate, because no one in my community is interested that I should be okay. I could literally America, marry a man in the US, marry a man in Europe, leave the country South Africa, but witchcraft has no borders. It has no boundaries. Witchcraft will tell you if wanyala lunyala. Witchcraft will tell you not on my watch. How many men feel possessive over me right now? Too many to count. And they will make sure that either I die or my husband dies before the two of us will go into the sunset. And my pregnancy that I'm going to be putting on social media. Everything in our marriage. All of the trips that we travel overseas, all that jazz, whatever I do with my husband, the little TikToks that we do. So much that you're going to end the life of either me or my husband or both. If at all the Lord does not cut these days short, no flesh would be saved. Black people, that's you. Now that there's a celebrity example roaming these streets in the person of Zahara, you can then go and add a multiplier to yourselves. Kimang Zahara wako henu? Who is the Zahara in your crew of friends? Who is the Zahara in your family? Kimang the Zahara in the office? The person that have pitaka wedding ring, ka an engagement ring house by. You're not interested on your over your dead body. Really, when you're in a position to say over your dead body that somebody should go and get married. That same chick Ole that was saying of me when I told her that I'd gotten promoted as a project manager that I would miss my old job as an administrator. She ended up bewitching my prospects for marriage because she got a dream that I got married and I was looking beautiful, and she blocked it. So I'm her Zahara. The only reason I'm not dead, you black people, is because I'm in Christ. My cousin, when she newly got inducted into the occult, did a human sacrifice ritual on me. She tried to kill me. It didn't work because I was born again. But if at all I wasn't saved, I was gonna be her Zahara. I would have suddenly found myself in hospital or gotten into a car crash. I was just gonna die. My mom was gonna mourn. The whole family was gonna attend my funeral. She was gonna be there. That rando was gonna be at my funeral. I would have died and gone to hell. That cousin was literally going to send me to hell, because the only thing that saved me from dying from a death spell at her hands was the fact that I was born again in Jesus Christ. So if I was not saved, I was going to get into a car crash or something, pass away, so this chick could get fame, so this chick could get a job, so she could get a promotion, so she could be okay in life while I die. And I was going to be in eternity. Look around, realize I'm in the outer darkness, find out that hell is real, find out that heaven is real, find out that Jesus Christ is Lord, but from the vantage point of having not trusted him. And while I would have gotten my justice against my cousin at the great white throne judgment, I also in and of myself would have been thrown into hellfire after she gets thrown first. That's the black community for you. If at all the Lord did not cut these days short, no flesh would be saved. So black people, the thing that you are is just yet another sin in the last days that makes it such that God has to take the restrainer out. God has to judge the world. God has to remove us from the world that you might be judged. You have to listen to this video from a vantage point where I'm in heaven and you're stuck here. You have to. Because I stop until I spoke the other day, I was lamenting that I can talk to 5 people and reach them, but there will be another 10 bakulang basatan basa boning hand basa anything in right day. I can talk to 10 people, but I won't reach the 10 million that are still doing the same thing. This sickness in the black community, y'all need to understand, it's not going anywhere. It is not stopping. It is going to continue and continue and continue. Folding your arms, doing nothing, contributing not to the improvement of the black community, just so when you can be the only one running right. Among those of you who consider yourself successful, are you as successful as you're supposed? Are you as successful as you're supposed to be? And even if you are you where you got because you decided to go to Olot Tripa Batubaba? And if that's the case, do you? Whatever it is that you do, black people, to each other, if at all the Lord did not cut these days short, no flesh would be saved. Understand, they're gonna keep dropping into the grave. Best friend. They will keep on having people sabotage them. They will be happy. But as soon as she grows too fast, according to them, they're gonna be like, no, I'm sorry, you're gonna stop. You are terrorists. You understand? Terrorists. You love to give bread to the hungry, but you hate it when the hungry are now able to bake their own bread. People are not standing for me, neither supporting me, but they're standing back. Bang ignore them. They are literally letting me die, suffocate, breathe my last. Precisely because I've got potential to finally feed myself. The springboard that my former friend Anthony Guterres gave to my other former friend in order to get her life. Once her life was acquired, she hated her independence. She hated her strength. She hated her prosperity in life. Enough to revile her name and cause us there was so much suspicion on a wedding day of everybody that 100%. When you are that full of disaster, when you keep on sowing discord that violently in the community, you need to be neutralized yourself. When you sow that much discord in a community, you need to be eliminated. And since the Lord cannot eliminate the whole black community and not cause an apocalypse in so doing, then I guess he must bring the apocalypse in order to eliminate those in the black community that keep doing this to the other black people to a point where it's insufferable. They keep on begetting more witches because in and of themselves they're witches. They keep on causing people to hurt people because in and of themselves they're hurt. And in so hurting other people, you then proliferate this whole spreading gangrene, this cancer that is metastasizing where nobody can survive. No one can live. Best friend because people will keep on standing in front of people from getting married. This is not to toot my own horn, guys. And on top of that, I have got brains. I've got so much to give. I've got virtue. Is a travesty. It's an abomination. Go to in the black community. They are littered. They're all over the show. Women cracking the age of 40, 45, having never been married when they were the best girls in school. When every guy made a phone, that wanted them, that were lining up around her. Why bangam chatang? Why didn't at least one propose? That level of sabotage. This is not sustainable. A person, you are burdened for her when she's unemployed. But when she does so well in her career that she's even basically threatening to exceed even you, and then you take her back to poverty. Take her back to poverty. That's what happened with me. That's what is going on with so many black people. And when jealousy gets to an extreme, it also then results in murder, like what happened with Uzahar. The Bible says anger is overwhelming and fury is a flood, but who can stand before jealousy? That is your South Africa. You won't let anybody be okay, to a point where abantu kwamele bathembe imithi in order to be okay. Because ha le batho tlogela batho ba ithapelle modimo, ha le batho tlogela batho ba lo nyala, ha le batho tlogela batho ba lo balabana, ha le batho tlogela batho ba lo bala, ha le batho tlogela batho ba lo tsa tšhelete, ha le batho lo tlogela batho go lo sebetsa with the sweat of their brow and therefore earn their keep on the earth. So the South African economy ibhidliziwe. The South African workforce has been massacred, and the South African dating pool has been significantly shrunk. People are not able to find the right spouses. They can't, because best friend. They've got boyfriends abafana nani, ama ex. They have got cousins. They have got family members abafana nani that bewitch wonke umuntu la emgaqweni, so nobody is okay. There's a girl that I met in South Africa that I thought was a Christian that came into my space, slid into my DMs. I responded to her. Sa fellowshipper for a season, and after just 2 weeks of knowing me, me to be right line, making sure I kiska sebetsa ever. Musebetsa etsang sense. Ki lorile thanks to our witchcraft. Ki sebetsa go wimpi. Ki busy na ki serve as a waitress with this level of intelligence. Umuntu angazi. She knew me 2 weeks yonke, just 2 weeks only. Just 2 weeks. Khwaba for her to go ralo ya motho a motsibileng 2 weeks jaanong jaaka ga tlo gona o lola motho a motsibileng 2 weeks fela o ba etsang ba tsibileng 3 years 4 5 bophelo ba ka ofela di cousin di dila jwang ka ena di OC bo abuti colleagues that she's been working with for years aba le bona. If she could bewitch umuntu that she knew only for 2 weeks, that's South Africa for you. That's black people for you. Another chick from Zimbabwe, I was friends with her on Facebook, and she made a decision ukuthi mina uzongiyeza a lesbian lover and thought my fitness content so that she can be my mentor. Given that ulako Zimbabwe, a woman in South Africa, and so and then she saw it for the one, and this chick only knew me for 1 month on Facebook. I followed her first, and then she followed me, and she was like, she's gonna be my lover, and whether or not she's lesbian is irrelevant, because I'm gonna make her a lesbian. I was lamenting yesterday about her witches also take away people's autonomy. Since the Utofa Musadi, the feelings for Musadi, I said again, yeah, I mean really, God, look, goodness gracious, if God does not cut these days short, no flesh would be saved. Hana Mototlo Bang right. That chick was from Zimbabwe. Oh, I'm South Africa, like I said, she was from around Dunmo. The guy from America, also America, so the thing is, so if this is a black community issue, guys, none of us are going to be okay in 2024. None of us are going to be okay in 2025, 2026, 2031. There is no future for the black community at this rate. And who under heaven is going to repent when all black people can think about is in their entitlement, burning down buildings, looting stores, and saying, but I'm previously disadvantaged. All they can think about are their social political ills when they don't look inside to recognize the fact that they keep on bashing each other's heads in. There's no future for the black community because of this grain. And I would go so far as to say, absent of the Lord rapturing the church, there is no recovery for black folk at all. We will not be rescued but for an apocalypse. Because haona motho out here in these streets, you haona batho, sorry, ubiquitously bale bangata kaofela ba kopane as millions, maybe even going on billions of black people that are going to make a decision to just stop this thing already. It's not happening. But for the miracle of God, black people are not going to stop if God does not rapture the church. So I'm doing this message for you left behind people to help you understand why God had to take me out. Because if at all I'd gone on my way to get my husband anyway, making sure that I get miscarriage upon miscarriage upon miscarriage upon miscarriage until I'm menopause, until I freaking menopause. That's what you would have done, black people, and that's why the rapture gotta happen. That's why we gotta go home. So, I mean, congratulations for inducing the birth pains unto labor. Congratulations for bringing about premature labor, black people. Congratulations for making sure that it's also a labor without an epidural. Congratulations for inducing labor prematurely, because this here is not sustainable, black people. It is not. Umudimo is not going to continue this thing ahead because we are in danger as black people from black people. Our issue is not white supremacy. Our issue is not inequality all over the show. Our issue is us. Rabolayana le bolaile zahar. I'm signing out in Christ's name. Bye.